Liz, I want to thank you for that very, very kind and generous introduction, but most of all, I want to thank you for your leadership. You see, when we needed someone to coordinate the entire labor movement, the private sector, the public sector, single and multi-employer unions, both inside and outside of the AFL-CIO, it didn't take us long to decide that this was a job for Liz Schuler, because she brings people together. And along with the outstanding co-chairs of the AF group, UFCW International President Mark Perrone and SMART General President Joe Sellers, we're making retirement security an urgent national priority. See, that's what the labor movement does. We bargain, we lobby, and we demand that every single worker has the right to retire with dignity and financial security. So, in the richest country in the world, at our richest point in time, we don't think that's too much to ask, to be able to retire with some dignity and security. No one has been a stronger champion for that and for retirement security than the Alliance for Retired Americans. So I want to thank Robert Roach, and Rich Fiesta, and the entire ARA leadership team for the incredible work in the face of some really difficult challenges. Will you join me in giving them a round of applause, because they earned it. And I just want to say hello to a few friends that are here. Tom Buffenbarger, former president of the Machinists, is here with us. Tom, it's good to see you. Bill Lucy, former secretary-treasurer of AFSCME and a longtime colleague and in the pits and in the fights going back a lot of years. Bill, thank you for being here with us. President Cecil Roberts, my president. Cecil, it's good to see you. I want to thank you all for being here today for this most important issue. You see, over the next 2 days, I know you'll look at the retirement income crisis from every angle possible to determine the best path forward in Congress and at the bargaining table. Quite frankly, there's no smarter or more committed group of retirement security experts than the people right here in this room. Between the ARA and our working group, we'll have no shortage of good ideas. My commitment to you is to use the bully pulpit of the AFL-CIO and our good offices to put retirement income security where it needs to be, and that's at the center of the national debate, because we do have a pension crisis in this country, and it's not in the future, it's right now. For instance, you know, I'm constantly being called by candidates that are running for president, and they see the labor movement on the rise. They see us on the rise at the bargaining table and in the halls of power, and they really want our support. So I ask every single one of them for their plan to ensure that every working person can retire with dignity. What's your plan? Not much to ask. And if they don't have one, quite frankly, they shouldn't be running for president. We're also making the case on Capitol Hill for a federal solution to the looming multi-employer pension crisis. Now let's be clear. We didn't cause this crisis. We didn't want this crisis. And we shouldn't suffer the consequences of this crisis. As Liz mentioned, legislation to preserve the pensions of nearly 100,000 current and future retired miners right now has new life. The support of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell in response to an election of a pro-worker governor in Kentucky is big news. See, the entire labor movement will continue to stand with our brother and and my friend, UMWA President Cecil Roberts, and his members and my brothers and sisters until a solution is signed in law. Cecil, we won't quit until we protect the lives of all those people that you and I call friends, neighbors, and family. I promise you that. We also are working hard to win passage of Butch Lewis in the House, which would put financially troubled multi-employer plans on stronger footing. And we're now waiting for the Senate to show its cards. Grassley has told us since Hector was a pup, I'm going to have a proposal next week. No, next week. No, I'm sorry, it was next week. See, we know that despite claims to the contrary, 90% of financial multi-employer pension plans are financially strong. 90%. But that other 10%, impacting more than 1 million beneficiaries, is in danger of insolvency. And if those plans fail, the domino effect could be catastrophic. The maximum pension that the PBGC will guarantee under a multi-employer plan is $13,000. $13,000. I don't know who in today's world can make it on $13,000. That's about $35 a day. In D.C., that won't even buy you lunch, let alone put a roof over your head and heat in there in the winter and things like that. And if those plans go down, businesses will shutter, communities will be deprived of their tax base, and that'll affect everybody out there. Income equality will get worse, so we're going to the mat on this fight. Liz outlined the interconnection of all of those issues and how they, on their face, sometimes don't seem like they're so connected. But if most of the people in a community, like the little town where I grew up, are on a mine worker's pension, and that pension disappears, there's no tax base left, or police, or water, or sewage, or street lights, or anything else. Now, I don't know about you, but I think it's long past time to expand Social Security. See, we've come a long way since the original debate when a congressman argued that Social Security would enslave workers. Enslave us. If that's the definition of enslavement, bring it on. We'll take a whole bunch more. Bondage, right? Instead, the flagship New Deal program has lifted generations of seniors out of poverty despite almost daily attacks from anti-worker conservatives, with 2 in every 3 Americans saying they're not prepared for retirement, and a quarter of our citizens saying that they have no plans to ever stop working because they can't. What better time to talk about increasing Social Security benefits across the board so that our seniors can have a little more financial security? And finally, there's the issue of our unfair and un-American bankruptcy laws. When Jones and Laughlin was liquidating the mine that I worked in, they were closing it. See, the mine that I worked in and my dad and both of his brothers and both of my grandfathers worked in was originally a Youngstown sheet and tube mine. Youngstown sheet and tube got bought out by Likes. Likes got bought out by Jones and Laughlin. Jones and Laughlin said, I'm getting rid of the coal mines and I'm getting rid of your health care and your pensions. And I went to a field hearing whenever the president, the CEO, was talking. about getting rid of pensions and health care. And he said, and I quote, "This is an opportunity for us to rid our company of the warts that have grown on it." I took that personally when he called my dad and mother, and Cecil's dad and mom, and a couple of other dads and moms that I happen to know, warts that had grown on his company. His company. The one he sashayed into a few months before for tens of millions of dollars, the ones he took into bankruptcy and left with tens of millions of dollars. Took him $20 million to take that company in bankruptcy. I offered to do it for $5 million. They didn't take me up on that. See, my dad worked his tail off, and I wouldn't be here today without him. And to call the retirement income that he earned through blood, sweat, and eventually black lung, to call him warts, well, that's about as far and as un-American as I think you could ever get. But we know all too well that this is the norm now. It's not an exception. Companies now file bankruptcy to get rid of health care and pension. They do it routinely. And judges, without batting an eyebrow, whack the pensions and whack the health care that they promised that they would deliver. Executives get golden parachutes. Parts are sold off to the highest bidder. And workers are left in the background in the lurch, trying to figure out how to put the broken pieces of their lives back together. Well, that's not just wrong. That's very, very, very wrong. There's a special place in hell for people that do that. And I, for one, will volunteer to mind the coal to keep the fire hot for those SOBs. See, we have a legislative fix to it, though. And every 2020 presidential candidate should be talking about it. Look, this is a really exciting moment for the labor movement. Union approval's at 64%. That's the highest we've been in nearly 50 years. 2018 was the biggest year for collective action in over a generation. More than 60 million workers would vote to join a union today, if given the chance. You see, we have real leverage today. At the bargaining table, on Capitol Hill, and in the national debate. And I promise you, we're going to use this power to make retirement security an issue that cannot be ignored or forgotten. See, when we stand together, no crisis is too great, no mountain is too steep, and no one, I mean no one, can stop us. This is the beginning of the beginning. God bless you. Have a great summer.